Anna always woke before dawn, the kitchen light soft against the tile as she brewed coffee and checked the same bank app that had become a quiet ritual of reassurance. Bills paid, she told herself, tapping each line like a promise. She worked steadily, had a modest cushion, and friends called her sensible. Yet every year, when summer arrived and the idea of a small vacation floated by, her savings felt oddly lighter than the math promised. She could pinpoint no tragedy, no sudden hospital bill, no job loss, just an invisible erosion. The numbers on the screen didn't show where the money had gone. They only showed what remained. One evening, she sat at the kitchen table with a stack of statements, the lamp throwing warm circles on paper as if to keep secrets honest. "I do everything right," she murmured, frustration softening into doubt. Her son poked his head in and said, "Mom, you'll figure it out." The kitchen clock ticked. Outside, the neighborhood hummed with the easy confidence of people who thought small leaks were normal. But Anna felt the weight of a truth many of us carry, that steady income and good intentions don't protect you from slow, quiet drains. That's where I step in. Not as a judge, but as a guide who's seen this story before. The steady worker, the careful planner, blindsided not by catastrophe but by habits paying stealth taxes on their future. Imagine subscriptions renewing in the dark, impulse purchases justified by a coupon, tiny interest charges compounding like ivy, each one harmless alone. Together they become a dam blocking the river of your financial progress. I want you to see Anna the way she finally saw herself. Not unlucky, not careless, but caught in a pattern with a map to escape. In the next minutes I'll walk her through the awakening. The moment she names the leaks, the shame that follows, and the small deliberate steps that start to close them. If any of this lands with you, tap like and tell me below. What's your biggest financial pain today? Running out before month end, impulse spending, or something else? Subscribe if you want to follow Anna's next move. Her first confrontation is closer than you think. The kitchen light paints warm rectangles across Anna's tired face as she scrolls through her banking app for the third time that week. Receipts, automatic payments, tiny charges that look harmless at first. $9.99 here for $50 there. Stack like quiet ghosts. She speaks aloud to the empty room, voice small. "I thought I had this under control." The silence answers back. In that moment, something in her shifts from resignation to curiosity, the first true step on a path she didn't know she needed. I am there with her, not as a judge but as a steady hand on the shoulder, guiding her eyes to the places she's been avoiding. Together we trace the shape of the leak. Streaming apps she forgot to cancel, trial offers that auto-renewed, monthly services she barely uses, the credit card interest quietly compounding on a balance that never quite disappears. It isn't one dramatic collapse. It's dozens of small decisions made without visibility. The house feels smaller now, as if the money is slipping through the cracks in the floorboards while she sweeps. We start methodically. I ask her to pull every bank and card statement for the last 6 months, to lay them out like a map. She frowns, folds a paper, reads aloud a line item, fitness app, $14.99/month. I signed up last January, she says, embarrassment and self-forgiveness mixing in her voice. I show her how to spot recurring patterns, charges that repeat on similar dates, small vendor names that hide subscriptions, interest and fees that appear in the fine print. We mark them, categorize them, must keep, maybe, cancel. This work is quiet but fierce. Anna calls a customer service line and negotiates a cancellation with a steady, surprising calm. She freezes a card she no longer trusts. She moves $50 each week into a separate savings account and sets an alert to review that account monthly. The relief is immediate and subtle, as if she closed a window she didn't know was open. Her partner watches from the doorway, relief softening his features. The argument about where the money goes softens into shared responsibility. There's curiosity now where there was only frustration, and a plan where there was only wandering. But even as small victories accumulate, a stubborn habit waits in the shadows. The silent, repeated behavior that eats away at prosperity without dramatic alerts. If you're feeling pressured by the same invisible drains, tell me below. What's your biggest financial pain right now? Like this video if this resonates, and stay with us. Next, I'll reveal the single habit that does the most damage and exactly how Anna confronts it. The kitchen light hummed low as Anna spread her bank statements across the table like evidence. Outside, the neighborhood was quiet. Inside, the glow from her laptop turned numbers into a puzzle. She traced a column of small recurring charges and felt a familiar sinking. $9.99 here, $4.99 there. A yearly fee she barely remembered signing up for. I thought I had it all figured out, she said, voice small. How did this become so slow? I sat across from her, not to judge but to point at patterns she couldn't see. It's not one big mistake, I told her. It's dozens of tiny, invisible leaks. Her brow furrowed. We began to name them aloud: unused subscriptions, impulse buys from late-night scrolling, credit card interest quietly compounding, bank fees because of a misscheduled payment, the coffee habit that becomes a monthly luxury. Each example landed like a coin in a jar, not heavy alone, but together heavy enough to change the shape of her year. She read me a transaction. A streaming site she hadn't used in 6 months, an app she forgot to cancel after a free trial, a subscription for a service she never used. I helped her do the math. Those small charges multiplied over 12 months, over 5 years, and the number hit her harder than any single bill. Thousands lost to habit and automation. Her surprise shifted into disbelief, then into resolve. I don't need a bigger paycheck, she said. I need fewer leaks. We made a simple plan right there. An audit of the last 6 months, a blacklist of recurring payments to cancel, a 48-hour rule before any non-essential purchase, and one calendar reminder to avoid late fees. The room felt calmer as she clicked cancel for the ones she didn't use. That click was small, but it sounded like reclaiming something. She laughed, a little triumph mixed with relief, and asked, "What else am I missing?" If any of this sounds familiar, running out of money before the month ends, losing track of subscriptions, or feeling your savings stall, tell me. What's your biggest financial pain today? Comment below. If you want to follow Anna's next steps and build a concrete plan to stop the leaks, subscribe and join us. In the next part, we'll turn these discoveries into a step-by-step recovery you can start this week. Anna sits at her kitchen table under the soft yellow light, a mug gone cold beside a stack of paper receipts and her phone open to the banking app. Her face is a mix of fatigue and disbelief. I thought I was careful, she says, voice tight. I lean in, not as a stranger but as someone who's seen this pattern before. I tell her to show me the past 3 months. She scrolls. Tiny charges flicker across the screen. $9.99 here, $4.50 there. A subscription she forgot she had. An app with automatic renewals. A streaming service trial that rolled into full price. Each number alone is forgettable. Together, they add up to a quiet erosion of her saving power. Thousands slipping through fingers that never clenched. We stand and move through her apartment like detectives. In the living room couch sits a gadget she bought on impulse. In a kitchen drawer, unopened boxes of supplements ordered during an anxious week. The air smells faintly of last month's online order delivery bag. I ask her to describe how decisions happen. She admits, almost ashamed, that she clicks buy during lull times, subscribes because of convenience, lets payments autopilot away. Her eyes water a little when I point at the tiny line item labeled interest. The innocuous bank fee that, compounded, quietly eats at her credit. We map the leaks together, speaking plainly. She reads the monthly totals aloud and flinches at the cumulative weight. I explain, in calm, measured sentences, how habits masquerade as convenience and small percentages morph into real lost years of financial breathing room. It's not about depriving yourself, I say. It's about choosing where you want your money to work. Her posture shifts. Curiosity replaces shame. We draft a quick inventory. Cancel what's unused, set a 2-day rule before impulse buys, move high-interest balances off their pedestals. She nods, energized, the first spark of control returning. If this moment sounds familiar, if you recognize at least one item on Anna's list, tap like and tell me in the comments which leak hurts you most. Stay with us. Next, we'll turn these discoveries into a simple, 30-day plan Anna can start today. The lamp over Anna's kitchen table pools light across a mountain of receipts and a laptop screen filled with tiny, familiar charges. She rubs her temples, remembers the steady paychecks and the anxious comfort of a small, stubborn savings account that never seems to grow. "I thought I had it all figured out," she says aloud, voice edged with tired incredulity. I sit with her in that quiet kitchen and point to the numbers she's labeled just bills. Streaming services she forgot she kept, a gym membership unused for months, subscription apps adding up like ants. The room seems to tilt as she reads the truth. Thousands drained by things she barely noticed. We walk through her month like detectives. There's the daily coffee bought with a tap, the impulse buys after a long day that feel deserved, the convenience fees and small interest charges on old credit balances. Anna's face shifts from guilt to curiosity as she learns the silent habit that's been stealing her future. Autopilot spending combined with never looking backward. It's not one dramatic misstep. It's tiny, repeated leaks, automatic renewals, micro-purchases, and a reluctance to confront bank statements because it feels uncomfortable. "I don't need a bigger income," she whispers. "I need to stop the holes." I show her how to start. Pull the last 3 months of statements and circle every recurring charge. Set a 20-minute weekly finance check-in on the calendar. Enable one small automatic transfer to an emergency fund the day her paycheck lands. Freeze online purchases for 48 hours before deciding. Call providers and ask for lower rates or family plans. She practices canceling a subscription as if it were an awkward conversation with a neighbor, and laughs, relief in the sound. By the time dawn softens the kitchen window, Anna is no longer ashamed but armed. She feels the quiet power of control returning, like the first deep breath after a long-held one. If anything here hit close to home, tap like and tell me, what's your biggest financial pain today? Running out before month end or just losing track of small charges? Stay with me. Next, I'll walk you step by step through the exact audit Anna used and the words she said to cancel a plan that was costing her hundreds. The kitchen light hummed over a stack of envelopes as Anna pushed them aside, the laptop screen painting her face in pale blue. I watched her tighten her jaw, the way people do when they're trying not to cry and still look like they have control. "I work so hard," she muttered, more to herself than to me, fingers tracing the last bank statement like it might whisper a secret. That night, the secret did. As we sat together, she read aloud. A dozen small charges she'd barely recognized. Streaming services she forgot she'd signed up for. An app with a yearly renewal, bank service fees that seemed to appear like tide marks. Each item felt insignificant on its own, but together they were a slow, steady drain. I guided her like a lamp through those shadows. "Name them," I said. "List every recurring payment, no matter how small." Her skepticism softened into curiosity as the list grew. There was relief in the act of naming, an immediate sense that the problem was not invisible anymore. We marked the obvious culprits. An unused gym membership she'd kept out of habit, a duplicate phone plan, a charity donation set to automatic that no longer reflected her priorities. Then came the less obvious. Credit card interest that compounded quietly because of minimum payments, rounding charges on automatic transfers that added up, and a subtle late fee pattern she hadn't noticed. We played it out aloud, like actors rehearsing a new script. "Cancel this, renegotiate that, automate alerts," I suggested, and she tried the sentences on tasting agency. Her voice grew steadier. In the following days, she called, clicked, and refused the inertia that had once felt like normal life. Each canceled subscription felt like removing a weight. Each corrected interest charge or negotiated fee felt like reclaiming a piece of herself. She surprised herself with joy when her next month's balance actually improved. Not by a dramatic windfall, but by the quiet accumulation of reclaimed money, comfortably predictable, slowly powerful. If this scene hits close to home, tap like and tell me, what's your biggest financial pain right now? Comment below, and if you want to see the exact checklist I walked Anna through to stop these leaks for good, subscribe. Next, we'll build that step-by-step plan she used to turn small wins into lasting prosperity. The kitchen light slices across Anna's table as she spreads receipts, app screenshots, and a cramped notebook. Her phone buzzes with another autopay confirmation. She flinches. I sit across from her, Not to lecture, but to map the quiet drains she never saw as theft. Show me everything you pay automatically, I say. She slides a long list. Streaming platforms she forgot she signed up for. A gym membership she stopped using 6 months ago. 2 cloud storage plans, and a handful of tiny monthly services that felt harmless. We add a second column. Impulse purchases, late-night buys, just one deliveries, and a third for fees and interest. Overdrafts, ATM charges, credit card interest on balances that never shrink. As we total the columns, the numbers stop being abstract. $15 here, $5 there, $20 each week for coffees. Suddenly that steady drip becomes a flood. Anna's breath catches. The arithmetic is plain. What felt like negligible habits are quietly siphoning thousands each year. I tell her the truth plainly, the kind of counsel a friend gives when the fog clears. Convenience plus inattention is the silent habit destroying wealth. It's not a single catastrophe. It's 1,000 tiny habits left on autopilot. She asks, almost whispering, "Where do I start?" We build a simple action map right there. First, an audit. List every recurring charge and give each a necessity score. Second, enforce a waiting rule, 48 hours for non-essential purchases, to break impulse momentum. Third, set small automatic defenses. Send a fixed amount to savings the day after payday and create calendar alerts for subscription renewals. Cancel before you forget, I tell her, as she taps the cancel button for a service she hasn't used in months. The relief that washes over her face is unmistakable. Less about sacrifice and more about reclaiming control. She's not transformed yet, but she moves from overwhelmed to intentional, and that shift is everything. If this resonates, tap like, tell me your biggest financial pain below, and join me to watch how Anna tests these changes when real temptation arrives, because the real lesson comes when theory meets the day-to-day. The kitchen light hummed low as Anna spread her papers like a map of small betrayals. Bank alerts, subscription names she barely remembered, the credit card statement with tiny numbers that added up to a fortune. I sat across from her, soft cup of coffee steaming between us, and she finally spoke the sentence that had been lodged in her chest for months. I don't know where it all goes. Her hands trembled, not from shame, but from the relief of naming the enemy. That moment, naming it, was the turning point. We began simply like surgeons tracing a vein. Show me everything that leaves your account without you thinking about it, I said. We read names aloud. Streaming services, an old gym membership, an app that charged weekly for a hobby gone dormant. Each one sounded small until, together, they sounded like the sound of a faucet dripping all night. Anna's face changed as she imagined the money pooling under her floorboards. I never thought $1 here and there could be this much, she whispered. I taught her the quiet rituals that block leaks. A single 30-minute audit once a quarter, the cold shower for impulse buys, a 72-hour rule before any non-essential purchase, and one automatic transfer on payday to an untouchable savings account. We closed accounts she wasn't using, renegotiated an interest rate over a trembling phone call, and set a weekly check-in where she could celebrate small wins. She learned to name the habit that had been stealing her future. Permissionless spending, purchases made without pause, without plan, without consequence. There were setbacks. The month after she cleaned up subscriptions, a surprise medical bill arrived. She felt the old panic, but this time she reached for the buffer we'd built instead of the credit card. That act, choosing the buffer over panic, felt like reclaiming territory. By the end of the week, less frantic and more curious, Anna laughed at a memory of unopened trial apps and promised herself something quieter. Vigilance, not deprivation. What's the biggest financial leak in your life right now? Tell me below, and if you want to follow Anna's exact 30-day plan to seal these gaps, subscribe and come with us. Next, I'll walk you step by step through the first week, with exact scripts and templates you can use tonight. I watch Anna at her kitchen table, late light pooling on a scattered stack of bills and 2 mugs, one cold, one half drunk. She scrolls her phone and freezes. I never noticed, she says aloud, voice small against the quiet apartment. On the screen, a list of subscriptions, recurring charges, and handfuls of low-dollar purchases line up like quiet, hungry mouths. Each one seems harmless alone. Together they're a slow leak. I lean in, not to lecture, but to show her the map out. Listen, I say, and we go line by line. We give names to the invisible drains. The streaming service she forgot she renewed, the grocery app that charges a delivery fee every week, sneaky bank maintenance fees, the high interest on a small credit card balance. She winces when she counts the annual total. It reads like betrayal, but it's mostly habit. Autopilot decisions, the reflex to hit, by now. The never checking of statements that turns pennies into thousands. We build a simple, cinematic ritual. First, a 30-minute audit, coffee, pen, a single spreadsheet. We circle recurring charges and mark anything unused for 3 months. Then a cooling-off rule. No impulse online purchases for 48 hours. She laughs at that one, but agrees. Small structural moves follow. Automate a transfer to savings on payday, so the money disappears before temptation. Set alerts for balances, and freeze one credit card until she uses a budgeted cash envelope for a week. I teach her one powerful question to ask before every payment. Does this protect my future self? It becomes a litmus test. She calls a customer service line in real time, cancels a subscription she hadn't touched in 6 months, and negotiates the interest rate on a credit card with a calm she didn't know she had. Relief floods her face. For the first time in years, the numbers look like allies, not enemies. It's not that I needed more money, she whispers. I needed a plan to stop losing it. If any of this rings a bell for you, tell me, what's your biggest financial pain today? If you're finding this useful, tap like. If you want the exact habit lock-in we used with Anna, stick around. Next, I'll show you how to make these changes permanent so the leaks never reopen. Anna sits at her kitchen table as the late light softens the room. The same bills she'd pushed aside now arranged like a quiet confession. I watch her run a thumb along a bank statement and, in that small movement, see the turning point every hero reaches. Recognition. I thought I had it all, she says, voice low, and the room hears what she finally admits to herself. It wasn't one disaster. It was dozens of tiny leaks that added up to thousands. We've walked with her through the slow unraveling. The subscriptions forgotten in a drawer of passwords, the late-night buys that felt harmless, the autopay fees never questioned, and the small interest charges that compounded like a silent tax on hope. Tonight, the transformation is not dramatic in a single sweep. It's steadied breath, a spreadsheet opened, and the first decisive click to cancel a service she never used. It's like I can breathe, she laughs, surprised at how light that small action feels. That laugh is the sound of possibility. Here's what changed for Anna, and what you can mirror at this very moment. She learned to make invisible costs visible, to track rather than tolerate, to choose intention over habit. She set a simple weekly check-in, moved 3 recurring charges to a single review list, redirected one small portion of income into a real emergency cushion, and negotiated a long-ignored bank fee that returned money to her account. None of it required a new job or a miracle, only a method and the courage to look closely. You don't need perfection. You need a plan and patience. Start tonight by finding one subscription you can cancel, one impulse pattern you can pause, and one fee you can challenge. Those 3 small victories snowball into the prosperity Anna now knows. Peace, control, and a future that grows rather than leaks away. If this resonated, gently tap like and tell me in the comments. What's your biggest financial pain today? Running out before month's end? Unchecked spending? Or hidden fees? Share below, and if you want guided steps to build your own leak-proof plan, subscribe. Next time we'll map the exact routine Anna uses every week to protect and grow what she already has.